Tonight, you're not going to turn away in utter confusion because the explanation you get as to what spirit is leaves you completely topsy-turvy. And you can't even describe the answer because it's all over the place. Drags you into religion and then causes a whole lot of confusion because this is not a question that many people can answer. Probably less than 0.0000000% can really answer this question properly. And there is an answer. There is a right answer. Right? And so tonight we're going to talk about what spirit is. And why would a spirit want to come into an existence in the first place or create one? Come into one or create one? And how does a spirit move? And what does a spirit desire? And so we really want to be sure that when we talk about spirits, I'm going to go into differentiating between different spirits. Because the kind of spirit I'm talking about is not the ones that people talk about who I got this particular spirit who I'm seeing, who is a ghost in a place and all of that. These are lost spirits. They're different kinds. But there's the originator spirits from which we are derived from where we come from. The spirits that have created the reality and have enough advancement and are advanced enough to create life. Those are the ones that we want to talk about. We don't want to go into fairy tales or falsehoods. No. Talking about spirits that are not in the same alignment as the spirits that I'm talking about. Right? Because you have spirits and they essentially have the same essence within them. But there are different categories of spirits. Some spirits have more abilities than others. Right? Some spirits have more abilities than others. And so we want to talk about that as well. So I will be going through these definitions many times because as people come in, the average person lasts on a live about 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes. If you want to really come away with a perspective that is accurate, yes, I might be bigging myself up. It's fine. If I don't, who will? Nobody. But you will come away with an idea. And what I'm going to talk about will not just go through your ears into your brain. What I'm going to talk about is going to go down into your soul, into your heart. Because unless you are taken down there, you will not know what spirit truly is. Let's just get started. A spirit is and this is not an easy thing to explain. A spirit is a certain consciousness. I'll explain what consciousness is because I said I'm not going to leave you here all confused. A spirit is a certain consciousness that exists, that is the originator of all existence, physical existence, future existence, and past existence. The best way I can explain this is this way. And I've just done a video a few minutes before going live on it. When a reality or a place, let's just say a place, because is being created, because a reality can be in a place, it can be outside a place, we want to be specific. When a planet, let's just use planets, or anything that supports life is being formed, it must go through certain layers in order to be able to support life. The first layer of that is spirit. Again, this consciousness has a mind. This consciousness we call spirit has a mind. it also has desires and ambition. And originally, there was only one. There was only one. One great spirit. From that one came all of the others. So let's just talk about this one great spirit, because it'll help you to understand spirits in general. Had a desire to create. And in doing so, there are certain requirements that spirit had to satisfy in order to create life where it can have different experiences. The first level is after spirit, the spirit had to create. To sit on top of spirit are the elements. The elements. Earth, air, wind, fire, and ether. Ether. Ether is ether. The ether part is you. You are ether. I'll explain that as well. Right, so I had to create the elements first. Then after the elements have been created, it had to create the minerals that would then come from the elements, so that the third layer of life being possible is laid down. So we've got spirit, we've got the elements, and now we've got the mineral kingdom. I just call it kingdom. That's just my words, right? Have any questions? Just post them up. After the mineral kingdom, you've got the plant kingdom. You gotta have plant kingdom. And after that, so you notice that the first form of life is within the plant kingdom. And then the plant kingdom gives life to the meat kingdom. Let's call it the meat kingdom. So spirit creates a meat kingdom that can then survive on the plant kingdom, which then survives on the mineral kingdom, which then survives because of the elements, which survives because of spirit. When creation is spoken about, very rarely is the spirit side brought about. The spirit side. In religion, the spirit side is often brought in, but given names and and then they're personified and called gods. But a spirit does not limit itself by calling itself a name. No spirit would give itself a name and then build limitations around itself. It might create a situation of limitation, yes, that it then uses to expand itself, because only in limitation can you grow. Remember that for later. Only in limitations can you grow. That's why you're in a limited body. It's not a weakness. Your particular spirit created that and put a piece of itself, which is you, to create limitations so that it can expand. Because only in limitations can you expand. Only in the darkness can you grow. You cannot grow in the light. Right? So we've got the first layer of what a spirit is and what a spirit does, right? So we're talking about the great spirit, the great one spirit. Yeah, there were 6 of you, now there's only one. This is a subject that's really deep. It's not typically a TikTok for you that are here. It's not typically a TikTok subject, because most people on TikTok, they just come here for entertainment, and if they got to use their brain for anything, they just go elsewhere. So I don't expect you. So the one person that's here, stick around. You're going to get a lot. All right. So when spirit creates that, now this could be over 1 billion years, a couple of billion years. This is a slow thing that happens, right? Get out of here. little moth. This is a slow thing that happens. Once spirit creates that, then evolution starts to happen. You see, many people have gone the route of going, oh, it's either creation or it's evolution. No, my friends, it's both. Because once the spirit creates, it lets the creation evolve. It allows the creation to evolve. And if it takes 10 billion years, in the world of a spirit, that's just like a split second. Right? It's just like a split second. And what happens is it wants the evolution to occur so that then it can create a physical vehicle that it can then put a piece of itself into and have advanced levels of experiencing through that vehicle. That would be me and you. That would be me and you. That would be me and you. Now, in science definitely has got it more correct than religion, because religion just thinks that something created something and it's nothing evolves. When in fact, we watch evolution happen throughout existence. We can gather evidence that shows that evolution exists. So to think that evolution is not a part of the picture is just flat out denying truth in front of you. These people are not to be listened to. The religious fanatics and their theories about how life came on this earth. Because otherwise you'll start believing that a woman comes from the rib of a man and all the other silly creation stories they've got out there. That's not the only one. When in fact, every damn day we see how people, animals, and flowers are birthed into this reality. Every day we see the truth of how that happens. But some of us believe in this rib out of a man's side of a man nonsense. There's no evidence of that. It doesn't even make sense. Meanwhile, every day we're seeing how it happens, and some of us just look past that to believe into a lie and a fantasy. Right? So evolution is a part of creation. But the creation part must happen first for evolution to have something to work with. All right? So why would a spirit do all of this? I kind of hinted at this a little bit earlier. A spirit creates. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing and liking the live. Thank you so much for sharing and liking the live. A spirit does that because it wants to mine and take advantage of consciousness so that it can create a vehicle advanced enough to stream consciousness into the planet. That's us. That's you. So that it can then expand and have greater levels of experiencing. Greater levels of experiencing. So a spirit is eternal. A spirit is eternal. So from the three of you that are here, usually 3 or 4 people don't usually respond, but I'm trusting that you guys will. If a spirit can't have experiences, what do you think that will happen eternally for the existence of that spirit, of that spirit? What's its worst enemy? What's the thing that a spirit never wants to go through? Or I'll put it better yet, if you live forever, if you're an eternal being, you live forever, what's the one challenge you would have? Anyone? Okay, I'll make it easier. Would it be a lot of problems to have to solve, number 1? Or number 2, boredom? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it too many problems to solve. or boredom. Number 2. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's a boredom. Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's too many problems to deal with. 1, too many problems to deal with, or 2, boredom. This is, of course, questions concerning if you were a spirit, you live eternally, and you live forever, you live throughout eternity. And number 1 is you'd have too many problems to deal with, or number 2, boredom. Hi, JC. Thank you for being here. Dimple says too many problems to solve. Anybody else say 2, boredom? The answer is 2. Think about it. If you're sitting around and there's nothing going on, what do you become eventually? Boredom. Thus the term, we are source in the Divine Mother, individuated to have an experience so that source can know itself. Anybody ever heard that? We're here having an experience so that source can know itself. Give me a 1 in the chat if anybody's heard that. There's 7 of you. I can get a couple of 1s in there. How many of you have heard that? It's good that you cooperate in the live because that's how your brain gets information. It's also how we get people in here that would really benefit or would want to be a part of this live. And it's fun to kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I get tired of hearing myself. I hear myself speak, right? I like to know that you're alive and you got a pulse out there. Right? You're right, Dimples. Absolutely. If you heard that, then this would kind of ring and dovetail into something that you already know. We are. We come from the Great One, and we're all a part of the Great One. And we're all fractals of the Great One. From the one came the many. And so the Divine Mother, who is the true creator, right? You just have to look at the planets, feminine. You look at the universe, feminine. And you look at, even if you're a male, when you first start your first trimester, everyone's a female. Everyone's female first trimester. That's why they don't they don't look for the sex of a child until after the first trimester. They do it in the second. Because everyone's the same. Everyone's female in the first trimester. So everyone represents the Divine Mother. So the Divine Mother and her counterpart Source are having experiences through all of us. Very advanced experiences. And the idea is to be able to use consciousness as a material and then create higher levels of consciousness, which then flow into us because we're streamers of consciousness. And of all the beings on this planet, we stream the ultimate most of it. The animal kingdom, there's certain animals that stream higher consciousness. Right? But the difference between us and the animal kingdom is this. If you're a lion, you're going to stream the same amount of consciousness that a lion streams. And that's it. Because nature sets that for them. Animals that are a little bit above that, like say the chimpanzees and the bonobos, they stream a little bit more. Because they have a more sophisticated system than the lion. Dolphins and whales, they have a really, really a highly evolved system. And they stream a lot of consciousness down here. Your pets, They stream consciousness. But they are limited compared to you. Because you can shift how much consciousness you are going to stream, or the higher levels of it that you're going to stream, which is not available to the animal kingdom. They can only stream to a certain level. We as human beings can stream higher levels of consciousness. What is consciousness? I've explained this before. And if you want to know what consciousness is, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. Right? Because it takes a little time to build that up. Okay, Dimples, put a 1 in the chat. JC. All right. And then I'll repeat what spirit is. I'll go back a little later and talk about what spirit is, because I've done that already, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it again, because it's one of those subjects that you'll ask that question, what is spirit? And by the time most people get done, you'll be confused. More confused than before you ask the question. We clear that up here. What is consciousness? First of all, I'd like to say that consciousness cannot truly be explained or put in a box, which is what explaining is. Explaining is putting something in a neat box for it to be understood. But I can attempt to do so where at least there's more clarity than there was before in your mind. Right? What is consciousness? So I have to clumsily use analogies and anecdotes to explain it, right? So, if you can imagine the ingredients that make up all of reality, the reality that you experience and can see, the reality that you don't experience and can't see, the reality that you don't even know exists, and the reality that's already existed, all of that's consciousness. The ingredients that make up all of reality. So just take that part. The ingredients that make up all of reality, including us and everything that exists. So a good anecdote or analogy is this. You are a baker, right? Let's bring it into the logical side. You are a baker. And you need to bake a cake. Think of the cake as reality and the ingredients that you need to get for that cake as consciousness. You see, all of those ingredients are what you're going to use to combine and put together in a certain way to then create this wonderful cake. Including the flavor of the cake. That's also an ingredient, so it's also part of the consciousness. So you put it all together and you make a cake. The ingredients that make that cake is consciousness, and the cake that you made is reality itself. That's a real simple way of explaining what consciousness is, right? The ingredients that create all of reality. Now, with that being said, who is the baker here? If we go back to the spiritual side of it, the baker is spirit. The baker is spirit. Now let's go back to, I've just explained consciousness. Let's go back to what spirit is. What is spirit? What is it? Spirit is also consciousness, but it's the consciousness that has a mind and has the ability to create. Spirit is also formless, meaning it doesn't have any shape. It's pure light. It is sheer intelligence and is aware of itself. That's what spirit is. In a very crude way, by the way, of explaining it. So again, spirit is pure light It does not have any shape or form. I'm going to get into different types of spirits as well too, so it's really clear. It's formless. It is intelligence and exists in an omnipotent way. It's everywhere, all places, at the same time. It is all-knowing. And it is all-being. But none of that means a hill of beans if you can't do nothing with it. You see the challenge the spirit has? After a while, knowing everything becomes... After a while, being everything becomes... You want to expand. You want to create. You want to partake and participate in something. Especially something that's never been created or participated in before. So in order for that to happen, now I'm going into reality and what spirit does. In order for that to happen, spirit has to create the situation. And generally that situation is one or a place or a thing that can sustain life. So at the base level, you have spirit. Then spirit creates the elementals: air, earth, wind, fire, water, and ether. From that, it is now possible to create the next layer for a certain kind of creation within existence to happen. I have no idea why that printer is going off right now. Vehicle registration, okay. Right? So we start off with the elements. And then from the elements, we went to the mineral kingdom. We go to the mineral kingdom. Minerals are needed for life. And we need to have minerals within us in order to live. And then we need minerals so that we can do the things in life to allow us to exist. Right? So from the mineral kingdom, you have the plant kingdom. And then from the plant kingdom, you have the meat kingdom. And every time you go up a layer, everything that's below that layer is also a part of it. So for example, you've got the mineral kingdom, right? So what's in that? The elementals and spirit is in that. So that from that, you get this plant kingdom, and you have spirit, the elementals, and the mineral kingdoms within the plant kingdom. And so you see, and so on and so forth. So spirit is in everything. Spirit is in everything. And so spirit then, with all of that set, then evolution starts to take its place. 1 billion years, 10 billion years, and things evolve and drop off if it doesn't serve existence. We see that with the mass extinctions that we've had with, say, the dinosaurs and some of the mammals. We've had about 5 or 6 mass extinctions here because that was required for evolution to take the next step. So many people tend to go with evolution or creation theory. It's either we're created or evolution is responsible. The truth is both. Because we have scientific proof of evolution. People who deny that are just flat out that you should dismiss them from your presence. Do not listen to them. Okay? Evolution is a part of existence. But the creation must be created first so that evolution can then do its part. With no creation, there is no evolution. So it starts with creation, and then evolution takes over after that. Because usually a spirit will build something for life to be on it, then it lets it evolve. Right? It lets it evolve. And because it is already inside of it, it's in charge of the evolution. Because in order for the creation to even happen, it must have spirit inside of it. Just like you and me. Without spirit, we just fall dead. And spirit shows itself through the breath, the prana. What is the prana? The life force. That's spirit. That's another name for spirit. Life force. Thank you so much, BMW 63. Thank you so much. The life force. It's even in the word respiration. You can see the word spirit, at least the first 4 letters in there. So spirit is the foundation of all existence. Right? And so science shows evidence of evolution, and it's still a work in progress like it should be. Because science says the universe before the Big Bang was in a warm, dense state. It has and has not quite figured out what that warm, dense state is. It knows that that's how it started, but doesn't know what that is before. And that's good. That's what science is all about. You keep learning, and then once you find out something and you realize there's just something, you need to find out about that. So I'm with science when it comes to evolution, pure science. I'm not into the people who just make up stuff and call it science. But pure science, legitimate science, has plenty of proof and evidence of evolution. Religion, on the other hand, that's a different story. They trot stuff out there all the time that has no proof. And they'll have you believing in nonsense stories. Right? And we know all of them. You've got the one in the Abrahamic Bible. You've got ones that that's not the only one. There's a whole ton of them. Most of them are silly little stories that do not deserve the time of day. Except if you're researching how people thought, what their beliefs were those many thousands of years ago, and you can learn a lot from that. You can learn a lot from that. You can learn a lot of other things by knowing the story, and without not having to believe in them, you can learn a lot about a lot of things. Right? So that's spirit. And so spirit does that so that eventually it can evolve a system and a body where it can have experiences and within that same body raise consciousness and create experiences that have never been had before. Think about how you are. If you woke up every day and you did the same exact thing every single day, in other words, there's no difference from one day to the next. You're living Groundhog Day every day. How would that make you feel? Waking up wouldn't be worthwhile. Oh, let's go out to the park. Why? It's the same thing. The wind is going to go at 12 o'clock. The wind is going to go this direction. At 1 o'clock, it's going to stop blowing. At 1:02, there's a leaf on the left side of a tree, and it's going to just do that. No, we wouldn't want that, because we are like our spirits in that way. So a lot of how we feel about things often matches the way spirit feels about things. Right? So We know more about spirit than we think we do. We know a whole lot more about spirit than we think we do. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And thank you so much. We're at 15K likes and shares. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Those who are leading the charge that way. So, how do we relate? How do we relate? Now that our planet, right, is at the point where we're advanced to the point where we can fulfill the deepest desire of our spirits. After billions of years, that's the chronological age of the earth, but it goes even further back than that. Right? And we have no idea of our history because genetically this vehicle is said to be about 300,000 years old. And when I was first reading history, when they split the human genome, I think they said that the modern man wasn't that old. Modern human beings weren't that old. We're about 60,000 years old. And as they have advanced in this study, they've stretched it out to about 250 to 300,000 years old. And they've just recently found a skeleton of modern man, modern human, and it's 500,000 years old. So they're going to stretch that number out. And these people who want to tell us our history have only marked history down to, say, 10,000 years. They have no idea of all of our other civilizations that came well before that. And they want you to believe that because they have a narrative that if they told the truth, they would go back to a place where some of them did not exist. If you go further back, some of those who do not have bodies did not have the control that they have on humanity today. And it would be seen. Because there is no explanation in the books as to why Rome burnt the Library of Alexandria. See, because the Egyptian civilization is at least 25,000 years old. The Sphinx was carved when there was water in the Sahara. Right? There's wear facets at the bottom of that thing. And the Sphinx dates back 25,000 years in its carvings. They have denied that. But if you dig deep enough, you'll find it. They say the pyramids are 10,000 years old. They're way older than that. Way older than that. But there's this, when I was in high school, there was this thing that, modern civilization was about 5,000 years old. Impossible. And I used to argue because I was studying about history because I didn't like the history that was being taught to me about myself and my ancestors. So I went and learned it myself. And then I found out how they came up with the history that they came up with. And then I realized that there was agenda to keep history at a certain age so things could be hidden. Yeah, Mesopotamia is 5,000. No, that would be about 7,000 years old. Yeah. But not Egypt. And even before Egypt, because Egypt is a former colony of civilizations that was south of her. Because Upper Egypt is in the south of Africa. Not the other way around. It's not in the north. Upper region was in the Lower Egypt is the north. Upper Egypt is the south. to match the flow of the Nile. So I bring this subject up because our history is way more advanced and way further out than we know. So people might go, wow, we're evolving and we're spiritually awakened to that level. It's not possible if your history is 10,000 years. It has to be way older than that. There are advancements that are within your DNA, your spiritual DNA, that has allowed all of this to happen. And those advancements occurred well before 10,000 years. To evolve to the level of where we are takes billions of years. To get to the level where you're at the precipice, where you can do what we are able to do on this planet, is well over 10,000 years. Why do you think that there's a war going on? People say, oh, World War III, we're afraid of that happening. Please wake up. World War III has already been going on. And the war is for your consciousness. So when you realize that, you'll realize how important your spiritual awakening is. When you realize that, you realize how powerful your spiritual awakening is. Because you know what they want to be able to harness? Your spirit, the foundation of all creation. Why do you think the universe, and some of you are aware of this, our brothers and sisters are here from all over the universe. This planet is being protected and being looked after by the Divine Mother and Father themselves. This is their most important project right now. Especially the Divine Father. He's pretty prominent right now. Right? As the overall protector and seeing of the Divine Father. And so it's a spiritual war, WW3. It's not going to be a physical one. All this stuff going on is just the side that wants to capture your consciousness, needs to keep you distracted, and it needs to create chaos so that you don't participate in your own evolution. You participate with their chaos. So that spirit doesn't get a hold, doesn't, through you, drive the engine of higher consciousness. Right? So let's go back to that cake. You guys remember that cake I just talked about? So, let me go back to that cake where I was describing what consciousness is in a little bit of an awkward way, but sensibly enough for us to at least get a little bit of a grip, right? I talked about consciousness being the ingredients that create reality, right? And then I brought it into reality is the cake, and the things that you use to make and bake the cake is consciousness, the ingredients that go into the cake. Now, I want to expand a little bit on that, right? Because in the town that you live, there's only one store. And you are restricted to only getting what they have. So the ingredients that you got to make your cake, that's all they got. But you want to make a better cake. You want to make a tastier cake, and you want to make a cake with a different flavor. If you want to do that, if you want to make a better cake or a different cake, what are you going to have to be able to do to make a different cake or a better cake? You can put an answer in the chat. You can put a word in there. What do you need to do to make a better cake? Okay? I'm gonna do the one in the chat and one or two in the chat. Better ingredients. Thank you so much. See, I don't ever ask trick questions. Some of you are in the community in here. You know I don't ask trick questions. There's no use to them. No use for them unless I'm making a joke. You need yes, you need better ingredients is actually what you need. You can get different recipe as well. Yes, that's actually legit. That's actually legit. Both of those answers are correct. But you can't do a different recipe in this town because they only got one store, and that store only sells those ingredients that you used before. If you go back there, you're going to have to get the same ingredients. But you want to make a better cake. So what you're going to have to do is get better ingredients. So just for the sake of the story, you drive out of your town and you go to a place that has different stores and much better selection or varied selection, and you get better ingredients. Now you can make a better cake because your ingredients are better. Right? Now let's bring that over to this other corner here. The consciousness corner. We got the cake corner on this side, and we got the consciousness corner on this side. So now we're traveling over from the cake corner over to the consciousness corner. So what do you think you need to do to create a better reality? Better reality. Remember, the reality and the cake are like one and the same. What do you think you need to do to create the reality that does not have pain and suffering and war and G-side and stuff being done to our children that we do not appreciate? What do you think we need to do? Remember, the consciousness are the ingredients. What do you think we need to do in terms of consciousness? Better thoughts and feelings, but they are consciousness. But they are not better thoughts and feelings. Yes, that's actually correct. Better thoughts and feelings. But to change the reality and to get better thoughts and feelings, what do you need to do in terms of consciousness? Yeah, because to change your reality and to have better thoughts and feelings, you have to raise the level of the consciousness. Thank you all for participating, right? Because this is not a gotcha or a you're wrong and all this kind of nonsense. That's amateur hour. We're having discussion and interaction, and I appreciate that. You have to raise, that's right. Elevate, raise, elevate, all of those. You have to elevate the consciousness. You have to raise the consciousness because the cake or the reality or the experience is going to match the consciousness that you have and the consciousness that you're living in. So in order to improve the reality, your life, however you want to do it, because you don't have to wait for the reality to do it, you can do it for yourself right now. You don't have to wait for other things to raise the consciousness. The way it raises is when we do it individually, and then it goes out into the reality. And our contribution combined with all those doing the same thing is what raises the consciousness. And it all starts with one mind. You have to raise the consciousness. How do you do that? No, not everyone needs to be on the dimples. Good question. But no, not everyone needs to be on the same frequency. It only takes a few, and then the rest follow. See, that's the key. How do you raise the consciousness? You start right here. You start with you. You start with you. How do you start with you? You see, because these are very important sequences. Because otherwise the whole thing will fall apart. If I just simply say, you need to start with you, how do I do that? And if you don't know how to do that, this whole conversation is meaningless. I need to be able to tell you that. You start by working on yourself. And you start by working on the things that hold you back. Have you dealt with the inner child issues that were foisted upon you by your caretakers, by the institutions, by the schools, by your church? Have you dealt with that and purging out? Have you dealt with that? Have you healed from those traumatic experiences? Have you left religion and are you deconstructing and eliminating those programs that are still there from religion even though you've left it? Because they don't go just because you physically left it. Are you deconstructing? Are you learning about yourself? Do you meditate? And this is all the things I'm talking about. Any one of these, do you start? You don't need to do all of these. You just need to start somewhere. Meditation. Meditation. Do you know if you have just a few people meditating in a town, that the crime rate goes down? The way people behave improves. I didn't say everybody had to meditate. Just a few. This is proven study. I can't give you a study, but you can go research it yourself. You just simply ask question. What are the studies that show that meditation helps improve an environment? By the way, when you have violent things happening like boxing matches in your city and gladiator sports happening in your city, that it also increases violence. Why do you think every city and every town has a major sports team? This is not all sports. Like say, basketball is not really a violent sport. But when you have gladiator sports, football, rugby, you'll have more crime in your area. Boxing and fighting sports are the worst. Because it brings out the worst in people. Meditation. Do you go out and connect with nature and touch the trees and have a conversation with them? See how simple it is to raise your consciousness?
No, I was saying for...
Not rocket science. When you connect to your inner child after doing that work, boof. These are super, how would I put these? When you do that inner child work and you're one with your inner child, that's a super fast forward in raising your consciousness. When you become one with your ancestors and you do that ancestral healing and ancestral work to heal the trauma from generations ago and to heal your ancestry, you have just skyrocketed your consciousness when you become one with them and you heal them. Why? Because that's our role in the spiritual team. When we heal our ancestry, we heal ourselves. When we heal our inner child, we heal ourselves. And we heal the most important aspects of ourselves. Skyrocketing your consciousness. And then it gets even more. It's a snowball effect. Because the next thing you do, and your ancestors will bring it to you, you start doing the work that your ancestors left behind for you to do. and you become the experiencer. And they help you in the things that you cannot see because you're in a limited body, remember? This is a limited body. But it's important because many will talk about being limited as humans, but they always put it as a negative. You have no idea that you in the physical are responsible for the evolution of your spirit and your ancestors. That's the importance of your role. Because only in limitation can evolution happen. It can't happen when you are an unlimited spirit. Where are you going to evolve from? So our spirits are pretty smart. One of the challenges is, how does an advanced spirit that knows everything, is everything, can be anywhere it wants to be, yada, 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 evolve from that? Not possible. Your spirit is the light. You cannot evolve in the light. You can only evolve in limitation and darkness. And that also goes for your ancestors. Who's the one that can evolve from limitation and darkness? The one who's sitting in it. That's me and that's you. When we evolve, we are scoring one after the other and evolving. Our entire spirit team evolves. That's our role on the team. That's why I say your ancestors must be your spirit guides, not any other kind of spirit. And your inner child and your ancestry must be completely healed for that thing to go. Because for you to be able to grow. Because then you start doing the work that your ancestors left behind. And they're working with you. The consciousness starts to grow. And it starts to grow within you. Thank you so much for that, for the Daily Heartbeat. Thank you so much. It starts to grow within you. Forget about what's going on out there. You see, that's why the other day when I came on here and said, the thing going on with, the Epstein class is a distraction. Because the most powerful thing you can do is take control of the things that you are in your domain. Something that you can do something about. Doing your inner work, yeah, that's something you can do something about. And you're the only person that can. And you're healing your ancestry, you're the only person that can. These are the things. These are the things that grow your consciousness. When your consciousness is at a higher level,